This week on Fashion Reel.
Just being selfish, focus on yourself, focus on your career. Don't listen to other people, go with your gut instinct. I've never started a business, I've never worked in fashion. If you neglect your social media, you can't actually engage properly. You've got to be passionate about it, you've got to really believe that you're going to make one of the biggest streetwear brands in the world. I was at, Warehouse Project the other night and someone said, where'd you get your t-shirt from? That's for me like, bang, that's what I want to hear.
Hey guys, welcome to the second episode of Fashion Reel, the show where I interview entrepreneurs within the fashion industry and distill their success secrets down to you. Now, in today's episode, we have Jake Messer of Unique Clothing. He's an interesting entrepreneur who's taken quite a unique method to starting a streetwear brand where he cultivates brands and brings in sort of external design talent and helps them grow. So last episode with Emil was very much focused on the creative side when it came to marketing, but in this episode we get a lot more analytical. We look at the metrics in social, tracking Google Analytics, etc. So I think there's something of great value that you can get from this, especially adding that with the knowledge from the last episode. So please enjoy. Right, Jake, welcome to Fashion Reel. Your brand, Unique, is an underground streetwear outlet stocking exclusive independent brands from young designers. Now, taking this straight from your About page, we've got Unique Clothing Limited began in December 2013 by a young man fed up with a daily 9-to-5 office graft, dying to make things happen and eager to bring something new and exciting to the fashion industry. So, let's start there. Tell me about your inspiration for Unique and the story, the idea behind it.
Yeah, well, I think at the time I was working for Virgin Media, which is obviously a massive blue chip company. I was in a decent graduate job, living down south, but I soon realised that wasn't really for me. It was sort of like a 9-to-5 grind of going to work, sitting there doing the same mundane tasks over and over again. I sort of wanted to be like, I've always wanted to do something myself. I think I always set myself a target of owning a business before I was 25. So I think when I was sat there, I was like, do I do this for the foreseeable future? You're in it for 3 years if you stick to it, and then what you go on to is just an advanced level of that, really. So I thought, what can I do? I either go into another job, move to Manchester, go into another job, or start something that I'm passionate about and sort of want to drive, and if it works, it works, if it doesn't, it doesn't. So I think where the idea came from is I had quite a few friends, graphic designers, who were releasing like the odds and sods of pieces of clothing. It was doing really well, like because of the close-knit touch to it through the social media. You could see that there was like quite a good passion for it from their side, and then friends wanting to get on board, and I just thought this could potentially go to a bigger scale. Not that I'm a creative person myself, but I just thought matching my business and mixing some skills, something could actually work here. So I think in December that year I left Virgin, and within the week I'd already had my business plan submitted and accepted by Startup Britain, which is like a supporter for young entrepreneurs. And then literally I was working on the business with 2 designers within a week of quitting Virgin. So you can tell it was something that I wanted to do, and was something I was passionate about. And I'm not one of them people that would sit there and couldn't work. Do you know what I mean? I have to be working on something, whether it be a job or this. So that's how it started, really.
Okay. You mentioned Startup Britain.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that and how that can help young entrepreneurs?
Yeah. So Startup Britain it was set up by James Carnell. He was sort of like a founder. He's a big part of it. Which is good. So basically, it's a big hub in the UK for young entrepreneurs, 18 to 30-year-olds, and my hub was based in Telford, so that was local to me, where I was living in Shrewsbury, but they have them all over the shop, all over in towns in the UK, just to give that avenue for youngsters to be able to go and work and set up a business. And I think the whole part of it for me was they told me that it's acceptable, it's easy to do, the support is there, the risk isn't too high, and they gave me a loan, they gave me a mentor, and they gave me a working space, which is basically all you need to set up a business. They fill you with a good bit of confidence, and they put on sessions for you. We can do marketing, accounts, and the best part probably about it is the other people that you meet that are like-minded in a similar situation. They're all young, probably starting their first business. They're in the same boat to you, and it's a really good starter, and I don't think I could have done it without that sort of confidence. It's all good and well you've got the confidence of like your friends and family saying you can do it, but it's about like-minded people, like I said, people who've been in business, people who know about it. That it sort of kicked me on quite nicely.
Cool, that sounds good. What were the challenges you faced in the first 12 months, and how did you overcome them?
I think I was completely fresh to it. I've never started a business, I've never worked in fashion, like clothing, so everything was completely new. Like I didn't know how to approach suppliers, I didn't know what products to get. But I think with a bit of a business now, so I knew how to negotiate and speak to people properly. I'd learned that sort of from working all through uni, and then obviously going to Virgin, you sort of know how to engage with other business people. So I think it was just a case of literally learning, and it's like being in school. My attention span is probably quite minimal, and you really need to focus on something really hard, like to learn it properly. And I was learning so many things from like the accounts, which is figures are figures. If you're not that interested in it, it's hard to sit down and just bash it all out. So everything really in the first year was difficult, I think, and I'd say that it's going to be for anyone starting a business like it is starting a new job. The first year was just really difficult. You just got to like keep ploughing for it, keep focusing, know that you're going to make mistakes, but then you learn from them.
Let's fast forward to 2016. You have exclusivity with 6 different brands.
Yep.
Can you talk us through that journey and a little bit more about how you discovered them and your relationship with them?
Yeah, so the first designer that I actually spoke to was before I actually started the business, and I sort of spoke to him and said, is this sort of viable, would you be interested? Straight away he was like, yes, and that actually turned out to be my best pal from secondary school, which sounds like a bit of a cliche, and it's like, but it's genuinely true. He was a graphic designer over in Cardiff at the time, doing really well with his own he had his own creative company, and that's the lad who was releasing a couple of pieces that were doing really well. And I thought, do you want to start a brand? He said yes. And we basically just went from there, and we just had a great working connection from the start. That brand is Horizon Bay, which has been the most popular one. We both have a feel of we know what works and what he wants and what I want from it. So the fact that we were comfortable with each other from the start allowed us to sort of criticise in a way that would make it better every time, and it's still going strong. And he released some pieces on his own, so it's coming back exclusive to me, so it's been a good journey for that. The second one was also a locality thing. I hadn't met him before I started it, but I was introduced to him by Josh, and I'd seen his work because he was the founding designer of Hype, which was good. So I knew that he'd already done pretty successful in the clothing brand, and he wanted to do another one that he didn't have to do all the marketing side to it. So like I said, that's where I came in, and he was super talented. So that's a retro style brand. So for meeting the designers, it was quite easy from the start, in the fact that they were both in my palms, and I had them, like I said, on the social, and that I was aware with them before, and it wasn't a daunting task. It was like the first time I was sort of meeting them, that we had that awareness there already.
How does that relationship, you mentioned that they do the creative, you do the marketing.
Yep.
How does that relationship work? How do you split the work between you?
It's pretty simple, really. I'd never even used Photoshop or Illustrator before I started, so it's just not something you can go and teach yourself. It's something that takes years and years of learning and practice. They had that, whereas I'd gone through uni and done marketing modules and taken courses and whatnot, so I had that. So it was a good marry of the two. So basically anything on the creative side, I would leave them to it, and then all the marketing, social media, speaking to clients, negotiation style, I would do that. And then it was quite 50-50, and it merged together, and would create what's necessary to probably run a brand or run a clothing line. So with those two, you have the whole package, really. So yeah, anything on the creative side, like the design, and I just say, look, I'll give you creative reign, because I don't think you can get in front of a creative and start telling them what to do, because their brain and their hands or whatever is what. I suppose you can
suggest what's commercially viable.
Yeah, of course. They'll send me products that I'll say, look, it's not going to work. I know the market, or my market rather, and that wouldn't sell. So let's scrap that. Maybe go for this line, and I'll there be saying, look, I need a navy tee, a black tee, and a white tee with this sort of colours, because the other brands aren't doing that, so that's going to attract X people. So it's like me knowing the market and knowing what works creatively, adding to their sort of like creative flow and process, if you like.
So obviously your background, you have a degree in marketing. How do you think your approach to starting a streetwear brand has differed from, say, a creative or a designer trying to do it themselves?
I think a creative, it's difficult because I can't really see into their like brains. I know that it's very different. In fact, they're very like attention to detail, so like the finest tweaks of like fonts and colours and whatnot. They probably go for it. Whereas I've got quite a focus on like businessy when a thing's going to sell in terms of like timing. So I'm very focused on like the timings of releases, because you have to hit it before. I'm looking at probably a lot what other companies are doing in terms of like how they're selling things, whereas they would probably look at it of like what do their designs look like.
Right.
So it's two completely different avenues at it, but they're both very important, because you have to know what your competitors are doing like business wise. You have to know what they're doing in terms of like creative wise as well. So you've got a bit of inspiration, and B, you're not copying them exactly.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, take me into the unique customer's mindset and the places your customers might frequent.
I think it's quite house music orientated, which is I just try and say I want my customers to be sort of similar to me. Like I base everything, and always have done within the outlet, on stuff that I would buy, stuff that I'd be interested in. Since I've done it, I only buy from sort of like independents now in terms of like t-shirts and streetwear, and that's the way that I want the customer to look at it. I want them to go, am I going to go spend 20 quid on a t-shirt from Top Man that I can go to an event and I'll see 5-6 other people in it, or am I going to go buy a limited piece that only sort of 30 are made, and then wear it, and then people actually come up to me and say, oh, I like your t-shirt, where'd you get it from? That's the ideal aim for me. And when people say that to me, I was at Warehouse Project the other night and someone said, where'd you get your t-shirt from? That's for me like, bang, that's what I want to hear.
Right. Your social strategy plays a big part in your success, and you like to inject your personality. Tell me how you've used social media to build trust with your customers, and what advice you have for other brands.
Never neglect social media. I think I spend 95% of my time on social media. Literally, like my friends would be, get off your phone, all the time. And the thing that they don't understand, it's not like I'm just there busy texting, it's like I'm analysing social media, because it's where you can see what all your competitors are doing, but then it's where you get a feel for your customers. It's like, I follow a lot of people on Instagram because I like to know what my customers are doing, like see what they're doing and then it's easy to sort of target them when you know what they're like. And I think if you neglect your social media, you can't actually engage properly with your customer, or you don't get a picture of what they're actually about.
How do you correlate between your Instagram engagement and your online orders? How can you kind of see what leads to what?
Yeah. Instagram is massive. It's by far the most important tool for me, because you can tell, imagery in terms of clothing is by far the most important, because you can set a style to it and people can see exactly what it is straight away. So for me, when the good feeling is when I post a photo online and see someone buy that t-shirt within 10 minutes. It's like I know that piece of marketing has brought in that order, and you can see there's 100% of correlation between posting stuff on Instagram and then seeing a rise in sales.
Okay, so it's safe to say Instagram's your favourite platform?
Instagram's my favourite platform. I spend all my time on that. It's because it's easy as well. I don't have to write too many words.
Yeah. So that was my next question, so we can scrub that one.
Yeah.
So apart from social media, what other marketing do you do?
I do pop-up shops. They're difficult because they're quite hard. I started off doing them a lot more, so I did sort of like Camden Market, Spitalfields. That's where I launched the actual outlet, and I was like, oh, this is difficult, but it's quite touristy, which is one of them things as well that I was saying about learning curves. I learned that probably that sort of pop-up shop wouldn't be right for me, so I moved over and started doing like sneaker festivals, because I know that people who go to sneaker festivals wear streetwear. Although they're probably going to buy a shed load of trainers, they might pick up a couple of t-shirts on the way, and that's what I want to do. So pop-up shops are a really good way of actually meeting the customer face to face and doing marketing that way. And I went in print in a magazine called Tomorrow. Some say print is dead, but I think it was good to do it once and get an actual feel, and it was a nice achievement for me to be able to open up a magazine, and it was a magazine that I'd read before I'd started the brand, so it was nice to just open it up and see my brand there and go, that's an achievement in its own, even though it's not probably as worthwhile as, you know, online.
Yeah. Do you do any supplement your organic social with any paid advertising online?
Yeah, I do quite a bit of paid advertising. Well, I say quite a bit. I don't overload it because I think it's not exactly necessary. You can find organic ways to grow your business. I think organic growth is by far the most effective, but for when example payday comes up, you'd be silly not to boost your post and promote the fact that it is payday and just try and get a bit of attention, a bit of clicking. Also when you release a new lookbook or some new products, you want as many people to see it as possible. And Facebook's pretty much difficult in terms of getting everyone who likes your page to see it organically, so you have to, they've left us now with no choice that you have to pay a little bit, and it's not big amounts, it's only little amounts just to sort of boost it up a little bit.
So you're boosting your organic content rather than plastering banner adverts, basically?
Yeah, I've done a few banner adverts like back in the day in the first year, like I said, and it didn't massively work for me, so I think that was another one that I was like, you have to do it in the right places, and then doing it in the right places, or the places that you really want to do it, it costs a hell of a lot of money. Yeah. So I just think that, yeah, little boosts here and there in terms of paid advertising are probably better than the big banners at the moment, because it's so hard to read that audience that you can't, you know.
Perfect. You chose a direct sales model with limited runs rather than, you know, wholesale big seasonal collections. Can you take me through that decision, and what do you think its advantages are?
I think limiting things is good in quite a few ways, to be fair. I think designers just want to design. So rather than just going, right, it's a season, let's just get in 200, 300, 400, 500 tees or whatever, and then just leaving them and let them sell over time, the designers are itching to do more. So every month, it's like if you get them designing ones and twos of products, then it's a lot better than just having something sat there for ages. And also for the consumer point of view, it's like if they're buying something that's limited to 30, 40 pieces, they know that they're not going to see so many people in it, and they know that it's got that more personal, sort of like limited touch. It's not overprinted, it's not overrun, so I think it's, you know, and it helps me just shift products more quickly on the site. It keeps things fresh, and I don't think that there's a necessity to hold the same product for so long.
Let's get analytical for a minute. Tell me about the metrics that you use to track sort of like your online sales, and take me through the tools and technologies you use to help that. Yeah,
luckily when I was at uni I did an internship at a financial company where I was actually a market analyst. So that was basically looking at all the data and figures for their marketing. So it's like a lot of it was TV advertising based, but a lot of it was web based. So I sort of took all them skills that I'd learned and done courses on like Google Analytics, and took that and basically just brought it. So that's what I've got sort of a bit of a passion and knowledge for. So I'm really focused on like really tracking like my website views, how many are coming in, what's sort of like the bounce rate, what's the conversion rate, and then put together like little graphs and charts just so I can see what's happening in the time of the months, what's driving people to the site, sort of what sort of times are they going. I think it's important that you know that sort of stuff, so like I said, that's the business side of coming in again. Yeah. But it's important for like when you're going to post your social media.
Yeah.
What days are most popular? So when I'm launching new products, what days do I, you know, normally get the most hits on my website? And you can sort of correlate it like that, and it all comes into like. Apart from Google Analytics, do you use any other tools like specifically with social? Like how do you track your Instagram? How do you track your Twitter, Facebook? I've used pretty much. I've gone through pretty much every social media tool to try it. So Crowdfire is good in terms of balancing your stats on seeing how many followers you get in a day, seeing how many unfollows you get in a day, and sort of figuring out why that might be. I've used Social Bro, which basically that's really good as a tool for Twitter that tells you your best times to tweet. So it actually tells you when most of your followers are online. How the hell they work that out, I don't know. Probably just from the tell by their tweets themselves. But that's good in terms of the fact that it's like it gives you the best chance to convert sales from your marketing. So I think you've really got to not just go, oh right, I'm just going to post something at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You've got to look at these, and they're all free or relatively cheap, you know, like 15 quid a month, and you can really analyse and dig into your social. Like I said, it's just knowing what your customers are doing and when again.
Yeah, cool. There's a lot of startup brands that are bootstrapping, don't have a lot of investment behind them when they're first starting, and can't necessarily afford to come to someone like myself to do, you know, big photo shoot, bringing in professional models, all that sort of stuff. So for a new brand with very little money who still needs some images, what advice do you have them to get started with limited resources?
Get an iPhone 6S on contract and then just take photos of that. The camera's unreal, isn't it? No, just be like resourceful. I think when I first started, I had friends who were photographers and you know, and you can sort of like get them in to shoot for free, and then you can just use your mates as models. You just have to try and be nervy and pick the best looking ones. So you can do it for free, and then you just give them a product, and they're happy to do it because they're gaining something out of it, and they're helping a mate, and then you'll get something out of it. And a lot of people will want to, you know, watch you grow and watch you get better. So you can start it with limited resources. I didn't start it with a lot of money at all. You know, all my money went on product, and that was what I wanted to do, and I didn't know the balances between trying to get good imagery. And I think you do have to wait till you've built up quite a good following online and stuff to really go, right, I've got that following there, I need to ramp up the quality of this imagery. And even now I can't do ridiculously big shoots with ridiculously famous models that cost a lot, because it is just too expensive, and my focus is on keeping costs down so that when the products actually sell, my margins are high enough. But you know, so you can do imagery in other ways. In fact, you know, even getting down a little bit of chipboard or whatever and taking some photos, some nice ones. Like I said, with a decent iPhone camera, it's enough. Content is key.
So you think as long as you're showing the product and you're authentic? Yeah,
as long as it's not overly cheesy. And the content, you know, you've got a good idea behind it, and there's a bit of a story behind it or whatever. It's enough to get enough people to start
and build up to the stage where you can improve. Right, that's perfect. Okay, so I'm a young guy or girl with an interest in fashion, and I've have a vision for a brand that I want to start. What's the first thing I should do?
Come speak to me. I think have a look at what other people are doing. Have a look at some of the big streetwear brands and see what makes them successful. Try gain some inspiration. Everyone should gain inspiration from the top. You know, they're the people that are at the top for a reason. And then really just go and put everything into it. You've got to be passionate about it. You've got to really believe that you're going to make one of the biggest streetwear brands in the world, or fashion brands in the world.
On to the quick-fire question round. What is your morning routine, and how do you set yourself up for a successful day?
Oh, it's a bit embarrassing. So I set my alarm for sort of like 8:30. I'm not really a massive morning person. I'll set my alarm for 8:30, then I'll literally probably do all my emails and everything, first couple of social media posts in bed, just sat there like under the covers, and then I'll probably watch a few funny videos to spruce me up a little bit, and then I'll get to it and sort of like have my breakfast and then really focus and wake my brain up with 2 or 3 coffees, ping out my emails, and then I schedule all my social media for Twitter for the day, and then just roll with it really.
Perfect. So after your coffees, what are the first 3 tasks that you do for work-related tasks?
Honestly, I'm not that organised, so it's always different. It's just whatever I feel like at the time. But no, social media is obviously important to set up. Like I'll use Hootsuite and then schedule all my tweets. So that's done for the day, so I don't have to worry about that. Get back to any important emails, and then really, well, obviously packing the orders.
Oh yeah, packing the orders. What tools do you use to stay productive and organised?
Like I said, Hootsuite's a massive one because I can set all the times for when the tweets go out. I can put all the pictures to it, so I don't have to worry about getting on the phone in the day. So I just know that, you know, 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, they're going out. Don't have to worry about it. Do that every morning. Done deal. Like I said, Google Analytics, I'll go and have a look at all the figures from the day before, and then just look at my dashboard and make sure that everything's neat and organised.
Perfect. What is your biggest frustration right now, and how do you plan to overcome it?
My biggest frustration right now? I don't know, I can't say that if they watch it.
I think I know where you were going with that
one. What's my biggest frustration right now? I don't know. I wouldn't say that. Okay. biggest frustration right now is that everyone wants to dress like Kanye West. So like the focus on the print and like design market is gone because everyone's gone like minimal, like oversized and big khakis. Don't get me wrong, it's a great look, but people just need to just keep looking at the print and like the actual design and story behind the brands. Like Feral, one of my brands, is done on like osteology and like it's a lot of like animal skulls and stuff like that. And that story, there's a massive story behind that brand, and it's so niche that people need to look into the design and the actual print of it rather than just going like, I want to dress exactly like someone else.
If you weren't in the fashion industry, what would you be doing?
I'd probably be in a marketing job for some corporate company, wearing suits, going for drinks every Friday night.
Give me the top 3 items on your bucket list.
Items of clothing, or like things to do.
Your bucket list.
Oh, right.
Things to do before you die.
Right. Things to do before I die. Jump out of a plane. Play with monkeys on a beach in Bali, and party with Leo DiCaprio.
That'd be quite a shallow life. The last 3 things to buy for your wardrobe before you die.
Last 3 things to buy before I die for my wardrobe. 3 Versace shirts.
If you could talk to your 20-year-old self, what would you tell him?
Don't go into a corporate gat job and just go straight and start a business. Just keep your chin up. Like, I think it's all about just being selfish. Focus on yourself, focus on your career. Don't listen to other people. Go with your gut instinct. I think what I did was I was like, listened to too many other people, and that's why I ended up in a job that I didn't like. I think I should have just gone with my gut instinct and gone bang.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Be relentless, I'd say. Always be relentless and just believe in yourself. It sounds quite cliche, but I think if you don't believe in yourself and you don't believe that what you're going to do is going to be at the top of the game, then there's no point in doing it.
Cool. If you're starting Unique all over again, is there anything you'd do differently?
Yeah, there's loads of things. I think there's loads of things that I do differently. I don't regret anything, but I think I made a few decisions and didn't know. I wasn't so aware of the market that I made a lot of mistakes, and I probably spunked a lot of money in places that I could have utilised it better. But like I said, now that I've learned those mistakes, I completely avoid them now. And so, yeah, there's loads of things that I do differently, but couldn't really specific one thing.
Okay, cool. Imagine you're a new brand and you've got only £1,000 to market your first collection. How would you spend it?
Focus on the product, make sure that the product's right, put the majority of the money in the product and just get that desirable to its audience, and then do a small little photo shoot campaign, try and make it a little bit different, spend more time on actually making, doing the location stuff that's free rather than stuff that costs money. But like I said, just focus on having a neat little site, and then
So you probably put the money into the website rather.
Yeah.
Cool. What's next for both yourself and for Unique?
I'm looking to bring in a couple more brands this year. I really want to focus on spreading it, sort of bringing a couple more brands, expanding the ranges that I've got exclusively, and then really sort of trying to ramp up the quality of like the shoots. I've ramped up the quality of the products over the last year, which is important. So now people are getting it and going, this is a real nice texture. So sort of using like organic teas and stuff like that. So everything is building nicely, and I think it's just keeping it up. I want to try and just not do too much too soon. Like what I've been doing is very gradual, and if I keep doing that, then I'll get in the right places slowly but surely.
Perfect. If you could ask anything of our audience, what would it be?
What makes you want to buy a product? Like, what makes you want to buy a piece of streetwear? Is it like the quality, is it the design, or is it who's wearing it?
Oh, I like it. Bit of market research. Right. Cool. And where can people find you online? Give us your handles.
www.uniqueclothing.co.uk. UNIK, that is not spelled with a Q. At Unique Clothing Ltd on Instagram and Twitter, and then just search Unique Clothing on Facebook.
Perfect. I never actually asked. How did you come up with the name?
I wanted, basically, it's silly really, I wanted a 4-letter name because it's quite easy to say, and it four letter words just seem easier to build logos and brand. So that was it. So I was like, right, let's set that. And then unique is unique in like French Latin. So that's where it came about. I just thought I was like, the products are going to be different, so if I can get that brand sort of customer focus on that, like sort of triggers, doesn't it? A little bit unique, bang.
Perfect. Thank you for joining us.
No problem. Pleasure.